Hey there, this is Chris with Patch. I'm here with Commissioner Ritter. Kevin, we're going over the agenda for this week's County Commissioner meeting.
This is our April 22nd meeting. We begin, as we always do, by approving any amendments to the agenda and then approving the bills for the week. Once we completed that, we looked at two separate resolutions. The first was a resolution that would declare Washington County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. What that means, our office lacks the power to legislate. So this resolution, we're speaking in retrospect here, so I can say that it passed, but by passing, it doesn't create law. What it does is simply provide symbolism. Symbolically, we're telling Columbus, symbolically, we're telling Washington, D.C., that we care about our Second Amendment rights. We understand the Second Amendment is the amendment that we use to defend all of our other rights. And there was a very large group of citizens locally that came to us and asked if we would consider such a resolution. And it's something that we did pass unanimously yesterday. The second resolution was for the renaming of the Veteran Services Building out on Pike Street. Young man that worked there tragically lost his life recently. He was known in the community as someone who was giving of his time, giving of his talents. Chad Wright was his name. Again, the Board of Commissioners voted unanimously to rename the Veteran Services Building after Chad. And his widow was here to be a part of that moment. We then considered a variety of appropriations from the Sheriff's Department, the Building Department, the Job and Family Services, Maintenance Department, the Juvenile Center, and the Engineer. These are on a variety of different things. A lot of them had to do with required state audits that happened this time of the year. So we're moving monies around for those audits. So we took those as a whole yesterday because they were fairly standard fare.
Pretty routine?
Yeah. There were a couple transfers. Typically this is moving money only on paper, moving it from one line item to another so that bills can be paid. The transfers were for the auditor and for the clerk of courts. There were 6 then and nows. A then and now is a bill that's already been paid, but because of the timing with when the bill came in and when it was required to be paid, there wasn't time to get that before the Board of Commissioners for us to authorize payment. So payment has already been made with a then and now. What we're doing as a board is merely recognizing, yes, we give our authority to this after the fact. This is a legitimate expense. We approve that it's been paid. So there were 6 of those. There was what's called a sub-grant agreement between Family and Children First, local department, and Job and Family Services, again, another local department. This is a grant agreement that happens every year. This is basically just a renewal of that agreement. We saw something similar following that. That was the 2022 federal and state operating and capital applications for transit. Those are things that we renew every year. So we expect those to come this time of year. Likewise, we expect to get expenses from our COVID task force. This time of year, we're seeing that most of those expenses are tests for county employees, folks that maybe think they have COVID, they've been around somebody that has COVID, and we think it's a good idea that they get tested. So the cost of that comes out of the CARES Act money that was provided by the federal government. So we're just approving those costs. The final 2 items, one of them was for the Matamoros area seniors. They had wanted to use some of their levy money to improve their building, to put some foam insulation in their building. That'll obviously cut down on their heating and cooling costs. That is allowable under law, and we approve that, so they can go ahead and make that improvement. And then finally, the last item the Board of Commissioners unanimously approved not charging the volunteer fire departments this year for maintenance to the Marks Towers. Marks Towers are owned by the state. The gear that is on the towers is the gear that allows fire departments to talk to each other, talk to EMS, talk to law enforcement. And typically they pay about $350 a year for maintenance to those towers. Well, because of COVID, because the fire departments didn't have an opportunity to do all the fundraising that they typically do in a year, and we had some money available, we thought it was appropriate for the county to take on that cost this year and alleviate the volunteer fire departments from having to pay those funds. That's it in a nutshell. Oh, I'm sorry, there was one other thing, Chris.
Yeah.
We also added something to the agenda. That was an agreement between the Board of Commissioners and a consulting group called Sunday Creek Horizons. They are a group that will be helping the county go out and solicit funds for the Devola Sewer Project. You probably know we brought in $1 million recently for the Devola project, and what we've pledged to the public is we'll leave no stone unturned in terms of going out and trying to find money to bring down the cost of this very expensive project. So we brought in Sunday Creek to work with us, going after any federal or state monies that we might be able to use to that end. But that's everything on the agenda this week.
Perfect. May I see that real quick?
Absolutely.
I believe there were just a couple things at the top. The critical infrastructure proposals. What was that? The 9:30?
Yeah, we had a 9:30 appointment. Community development block grant monies are available to different entities that are trying to make infrastructure improvements.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have a water association that comes to you. You might have other infrastructure groups, like the county engineer could come in and ask for monies. What we do as a Board of Commissioners is we listen to those presentations. Ultimately, we're going to rank those from 1 through however many there are, signifying what we think is important in terms of where those monies should be allocated. So we listened to 4 different groups that made their proposals yesterday. And then lastly, we heard from Judge Kareni yesterday in the Common Pleas Court. He came in and reported that the court has received a $500,000 grant that will keep the drug court running for another 3 years. We sign off on that because, like with so many things, our office is the pass-through for that grant money. So that grant money comes from the state, not to the court directly, but rather it comes through the commissioner's office and then it's doled out to the court. So we just serve as the pass-through in that case.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Ritter.
Absolutely. Thank you.